Ilara had always known how to hold things together. At work, she managed crises before they became disasters. At home, she did the same, just without the title, the paycheck, or the recognition. That night, the house smelled like roasted food and quiet expectations. The table was full. Everything looked perfect, because she had made sure it was. She paid the overdue bill 2 days ago, fixed the broken appliance, picked up groceries on her way home, even arrived early to help set the table no one would thank her for. Ilara sat at the far end, where she always did, close enough to serve, far enough to disappear. Her mother lifted her glass, smiling in that warm, practiced way that made everything sound like truth. "To Adrian," she said proudly, "the only real success in this family." Laughter followed. Admiration filled the room. Adrian leaned back, soaking it in like sunlight. Ilara didn't move. She didn't defend herself, didn't interrupt, didn't even look up right away, because something inside her didn't crack. It went still. For years, she had rewritten his plans when they failed, covered his mistakes before they became visible, quietly filled the gaps between his ambition and reality. And not once had he corrected them. Not tonight either. He smiled. That was enough. Ilara lowered her gaze to her plate, but she wasn't shrinking. She was seeing, clearly, for the first time. If he was the success, then he could survive without her. The conversation moved on like nothing had happened. Her mother continued, her voice glowing with pride. "Adrian takes risks. That's what makes him different. Not everyone has that spark." Ilara felt the words land, not sharp, but precise, measured, intentional. Across the table, her father stared into his drink, saying nothing. He always chose silence. It was easier that way. Adrian laughed lightly. "Mom, you're exaggerating." But his expression betrayed him. He liked the story. Ilara folded her hands under the table, fingers pressing into her palm just enough to keep herself grounded. She had heard versions of this her entire life. Adrian the dreamer. Ilara the dependable one. Adrian the future. Ilara the support system. But tonight, something shifted. Not in what they said, in what she understood. Dependable didn't mean valued. It meant available. And available meant replaceable. Or worse, invisible. Her mother turned to her suddenly. "You understand stability, Ilara. But Adrian, he has vision. That's the difference." The difference. Ilara finally looked up. For a second, just a second, she considered saying everything. The money she had sent, the opportunities she had turned down, the nights she stayed up fixing problems no one knew existed. But she didn't. Because explaining your value to people who benefit from ignoring it never works. Instead, she nodded slightly. Calm. Controlled. Done. Later that evening, Adrian leaned toward her casually. "Hey," he said, lowering his voice. "I'm putting together something big. I'll send it over. Just take a quick look, yeah?" Not a request. An assumption. Ilara looked at him. Really looked this time. And for the first time in her life, she didn't see someone she needed to help. She saw someone who had never learned to stand. Her answer came easily. "No." Adrian blinked. "What?" "I'm not going to help this time." The air shifted. Not loudly, but completely. Her mother frowned. "What do you mean?" Ilara stood slowly, picking up her bag. "I mean exactly that." Her voice didn't shake. "I'm stepping back." Her mother's expression hardened. "This isn't the time for attitude." Ilara met her gaze, steady and quiet. "This isn't attitude." A pause. Then the truth, spoken without anger. "I just finally understand my place." She turned toward the door. Behind her, the silence felt heavier than any argument. And for the first time in years, walking away didn't feel like loss. It felt like release. The silence didn't last. It never did. By the time Ilara reached her apartment that night, her phone was already lighting up. First, a message from her mother. "What was that behavior?" "No concern, no confusion, just correction." Ilara placed her keys on the counter and didn't reply. A minute later, another message appeared. "You embarrassed your brother." She stared at the screen, her reflection faintly visible in the black glass. For years, those words would have pulled something tight inside her chest. Guilt, urgency, the need to fix it. Tonight, they didn't. She set the phone down and walked into the kitchen, flipping on the light. The quiet felt unfamiliar. Not empty, just uninterrupted. Her phone buzzed again. Adrian. Of course. She let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped. A message followed immediately. Are you done being dramatic? Ilara let out a slow breath. Dramatic. That was the word they used when she didn't cooperate. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, reading the next message as it came in. I need that proposal cleaned up by Friday. Not can you help, not please. Need. Expectation dressed as urgency. Her thumb hovered over the screen for a second. Then she locked it. The next morning, nothing had changed, and everything had. Ilara walked into work, greeted by the controlled chaos she was trained to handle. Delayed shipments, missing inventory, a scheduling issue that could affect 3 departments by noon. She moved through it smoothly, efficiently, solving problems before they could spread. Here, clarity was valued. Here, when she fixed something, people noticed. By midday, she had resolved 2 critical issues and prevented a 3rd. And yet, when her phone buzzed again, her chest still tightened, just slightly. Old habits didn't disappear overnight. She glanced at the screen. Adrian. Again. She didn't open the message right away. Instead, she finished typing the report in front of her, sent it, took a sip of water, then finally looked. Seriously, I don't have time for this. Just fix the numbers. Ilara stared at the words, something cold settling into place. Not anger.
Recognition.
This wasn't new. This was just the first time she wasn't participating. Another message appeared seconds later. Don't make this a thing. She almost smiled. It already was. He just didn't realize it yet. That evening, instead of going straight home, Ilara drove without thinking, turning down a quiet road that led to a small walking path near the edge of the city. She parked, stepped out, and let the cool air hit her face. For a moment, she just stood there. No noise, no expectations, no one needing anything from her. It felt strange. She started walking slowly, hands tucked into her coat pockets. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she didn't want to check it, but she did. A voice message. Adrian. She hesitated, then pressed play. His voice came through, sharper than usual. Look, I don't know what your problem is, but I have people waiting on this. You know the numbers better than I do. Just fix it and send it back. We can deal with your whatever this is later. Ilara stopped walking. The wind moved lightly through the trees, but everything else felt still. Your problem. Your feelings later. She replayed the message in her head once, then deleted it. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. By the time she got home, there were 3 more missed calls. 1 from her mother, 2 from Adrian. A final message waited at the top of her screen. You're making this worse than it needs to be. Ilara sat on the edge of her bed, staring at it. For years, she had believed that if something was falling apart, it was her responsibility to hold it together. That peace depended on her effort. That family meant sacrifice. But now, for the first time, she saw the truth underneath it all. Nothing was worse because she stepped back. It was just visible. Her absence wasn't the problem. It was the exposure. Her phone buzzed again. Her mother. This time, Ilara answered. Hello? A sharp exhale came through the line. You need to stop this, her mother said immediately. Your brother is under a lot of pressure. Ilara closed her eyes briefly. There it was. Not are you okay? Not what happened. Just expectation. He'll figure it out, Ilara said calmly. Silence. Then colder. That's not how this family works. Ilara's grip tightened slightly around the phone. No, that's exactly how it had always worked. Just not for everyone. She opened her eyes, her voice steady. Maybe that's the problem. The line went quiet. And for the first time, Ilara didn't rush to fill the silence. The next morning, the pressure stopped pretending. It didn't come as concern. It came organized. Ilara woke to 12 unread messages, most from her mother, the rest from Adrian. She didn't open them right away. Instead, she made coffee, stood by the window, and watched the quiet street below her apartment. People moved through their routines, ordinary, contained, untouched by the storm building inside her phone. For years, her mornings had started with checking messages first, fixing problems before she even fully woke up. Today, she waited. When she finally unlocked her screen, the words spilled out all at once. "You're taking this too far. He's depending on you. I don't understand why you're acting like this. Family doesn't abandon each other." Ilara read every line, slowly, carefully, like she was studying something fragile, but already broken. Then Adrian's messages, shorter, sharper. "Did you even look at it? I sent you the files. I don't have time for games." No apology, no acknowledgement, just escalation. Her thumb hovered over the screen for a moment. Then she locked it again. At work, the day moved fast. Too fast to think too much. A supply issue turned urgent. A vendor delay threatened a full schedule disruption. Meetings stacked on top of each other. Ilara handled it all. Calm, focused, effective. People listened when she spoke, adjusted when she suggested solutions, thanked her when things stabilized. It should have felt normal. Instead, it felt strange, because the same skills that made her valuable here had made her invisible at home. Around noon, her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it. Almost. But something in her, something old, still reached. A message from her mother? "Call me, now." Ilara stared at the screen. That tone used to work. It used to mean urgency, importance, obligation. Now it just felt familiar, and familiarity no longer meant authority. She didn't call. The response came quickly. Another message. "Longer this time. I don't know what you think you're doing, but this attitude is unacceptable. Your brother is trying to build something important, and instead of supporting him, you're making things harder. You've always been the responsible one. Why are you acting like this now?" Ilara read it twice, not for the words, for the pattern. Responsible, support, always. Those weren't compliments. They were assignments, roles she never agreed to, but had been expected to perform perfectly. She exhaled slowly and typed her first reply of the day. "I'm not acting different. I'm just not doing what I used to." She stared at the sentence before sending it, then pressed send. The reply came faster than she expected. "That's the same thing." Ilara let out a quiet breath. No, it wasn't. And that was exactly the problem. That evening, the pressure escalated. Adrian called again. This time, she answered. There was no greeting. "What are you doing?" he snapped immediately. Ilara leaned back against her couch, calm. "Living my life." A short, disbelieving laugh came through the line. "Stop, I'm serious. I need those numbers fixed. The meeting is in 2 days." Ilara said nothing. He continued, faster now. "You know how this works. I send it, you clean it up, we move forward. Why are you suddenly making this difficult?" Ilara tilted her head slightly, listening, not to his words, but to what was underneath them. Assumption, dependence, certainty that she would step in. She spoke quietly. "That's exactly the point." Silence, then sharper. "What does that even mean?" "It means," she said, her voice steady, "this doesn't work like that anymore." Another pause, longer this time.
Then the shift.
From frustration to accusation. "You're really doing this? Over what? One comment at dinner?" Ilara's grip tightened slightly around the phone. One comment. That's how small it looked to him. "That wasn't one comment," she said. "It was years." He scoffed. "You're overthinking it." Maybe she was. For years, overthinking, overworking, overgiving. Trying to make sense of something that had never been balanced. But not anymore. "I'm done thinking for you," she said. The silence that followed was heavier than anything before. When Adrian spoke again, his voice was colder. "You know what? Fine. Don't help." Ilara didn't respond. He exhaled sharply. "But don't act surprised when this falls apart." There it was. The shift. Not responsibility, blame. As if her absence would be the cause. not the exposure. Elara closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. That's not on me, she said quietly. It never was. He hung up. No goodbye. No resolution. Just distance. Elara lowered the phone slowly, placing it beside her on the couch. The room felt quiet again, but not peaceful. Not yet, because this part, this middle, was always the hardest. The moment when you stop carrying everything, but the weight hasn't hit the ground yet. It's still suspended, still falling, still loud in everyone else's world. Her phone buzzed one more time. A message from her mother. I don't recognize you anymore. Elara looked at it for a long moment, then typed her reply. I'm starting to recognize myself. She hit send. And this time, she didn't wait for an answer. The silence didn't hold. It never really did. But something else changed before the noise returned. The cracks started showing. 3 days passed. 3 days without Elara opening a single file Adrian sent. 3 days without fixing numbers that weren't hers to fix. 3 days of doing her job, and only her job. It felt unfamiliar. Not wrong. Just incomplete in a way she hadn't expected. Like she had dropped something she had carried for so long. Her body still leaned to one side. On the 4th morning, her phone buzzed before she even got out of bed. A message from Adrian. Short. No greeting. Did you even look at it? Elara stared at the screen, her eyes still heavy from sleep. She didn't answer. Another message followed almost immediately. I have the meeting tomorrow. Still not a request. Still not an acknowledgement. Just pressure. Just expectation. She locked her phone and set it aside. At work, the day moved like a current she could step into without thinking. A shipment delay. A last-minute reroute. A problem that could have turned into something bigger if no one had caught it in time. She caught it, fixed it, moved on. Her manager passed by her desk mid-morning. Nice recovery on that supply issue, she said. You kept everything from backing up. Elara nodded. Just part of the job. Her manager paused, studying her for a second. You make it look easy. Elara almost laughed. Easy. That word again. It followed her everywhere. But easy wasn't the truth. Invisible effort just looked like ease to people who didn't see it. Around noon, her phone buzzed again. This time, she opened it. A photo. Sent by her mother. Elara frowned slightly and tapped it. It was a screenshot of Adrian's presentation. Numbers highlighted. Red circles drawn around sections. At the bottom, a message. Something isn't right here. Can you fix this quickly? Elara stared at the screen, her thumb still. Not can you help? Not do you have time? Just fix. Quickly. As if nothing had changed. As if she hadn't already said no. She locked the phone without replying. That afternoon, something shifted. Not in her. In him, Adrian called. She watched it ring once. Twice. Then answered. What? She said calmly. There was no edge in her voice, but there was no softness either. On the other end, Adrian sounded different. Less confident. More rushed. I went through the numbers, he said quickly. Some of them don't match. I think I used the wrong projections. Elara said nothing. He continued. I just need you to take a look. Tell me what to fix. There it was again. The assumption. But now, there was something else under it. Uncertainty. A crack. Elara leaned back slightly, her gaze steady. You already know what to fix, she said. Silence. Then, defensive. No, I don't. That's why I'm calling you. Elara closed her eyes briefly. For years, that sentence would have triggered something automatic inside her. A response? A solution? Movement. Now, it just sounded incomplete. You didn't prepare properly, she said. Her tone wasn't harsh, just factual. Adrian let out a short breath. That's not the point right now. No, Elara replied quietly. That's exactly the point. The line went still. For a second, it almost felt like he might hear her. Really hear her. But then, he didn't. I don't have time for this, he snapped. Just tell me what's wrong. Elara looked out the window beside her. People moving, cars passing, life continuing. No one rushing to fix anything for anyone else. I'm not going to fix it, she said. Another silence, this one sharper. Then, you're really going to let this fail? The question hung between them. Heavy, accusing. Ilara didn't answer right away because she finally understood something important. She wasn't letting anything fail. She was just no longer preventing it. That depends, she said slowly. On what? Adrian asked. On whether it was ever strong enough to stand without me. He didn't respond. For a second, all she could hear was his breathing. Then the call ended. No argument, no resolution, just distance. That evening, Ilara didn't go home right away. She drove again. Same road, same quiet path, but something felt different this time. Not just the absence of noise, the presence of space. She walked slowly, hands in her pockets, her thoughts quieter than they had been in days. And then it hit her. Not like a realization, like a truth that had been waiting. Nothing was falling apart because she stepped back. It had always been fragile. She had just been holding it together so tightly. No one saw the cracks. Her phone buzzed. She looked. A message from her mother. His meeting is tomorrow. No context. No question. Just a reminder. Ilara stared at it, then typed back. I know. She didn't add anything else, because there was nothing left to explain. That night, she slept. Not perfectly. Not peacefully, but without that constant pressure in her chest. And for the first time in years, she didn't wake up already tired. The next day, everything would change. Not because she acted, but because she didn't. The meeting was at 10. By 9:30, Ilara already knew how it would end. Not because she was there, but because she wasn't. Her morning moved like any other. Structured, controlled, predictable. Emails answered. Reports reviewed. A minor issue resolved before it became urgent. On the surface, nothing felt different. But underneath, there was a quiet awareness. Somewhere else, something was unfolding without her. At 10:17 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Everyone say a prayer for Adrian today. Big meeting. Ilara stared at the screen. Prayer, not preparation. Not accountability, just hope. She placed her phone face down on her desk and kept working. At 11:02, it buzzed again. Adrian. She ignored it. At 11:05, again, and again. 3 calls in less than 10 minutes. The 4th time, she picked up. Oh, what? She said, her voice calm but direct. Adrian didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was different. Tight, unsteady. They're asking questions, he said quickly. About the projections, the lease numbers. It's not lining up. Ilara leaned back in her chair, her expression unchanged. What kind of questions? She asked. Details, he snapped. Specifics, stuff that doesn't matter right now. Ilara almost smiled. Details, the exact thing he had never wanted to deal with. They matter now, she said. I know that. He shot back. That's why I'm calling you. Of course. Even now, in the middle of it, he still reached for her. Not to understand, to escape. What do you want me to do? She asked. There was a pause. Then, tell me what to say. Not fix, not explain. Just cover. Ilara closed her eyes for a brief second. For years, she had done exactly that. Given him the right words, the right numbers, the right version of reality. And every time, it worked until now. I'm not there, she said quietly. That's not what I asked, Adrian snapped. I just need you to walk me through it. Ilara opened her eyes again. Steady, present. No. The silence that followed was sharp enough to feel. Then, you're serious? He asked. Yes. His breath hit the phone, uneven. You're really doing this right now? In the middle of the meeting? Ilara didn't raise her voice, didn't defend herself. She just said, this isn't my meeting. Another pause. Longer. He was starting to understand. Not fully, but enough. You could fix this in 5 minutes, he said, quieter now. You know that. Ilara's fingers rested lightly on the edge of her desk. She did know. That was the problem. Yes, she said. Then why aren't you? His voice cracked. Not with emotion, but with pressure. Ilara exhaled slowly. Because if I fix it, she said, you'll never learn what went wrong. The line went silent. For a moment, she thought he might argue again, push harder, demand more. But he didn't. Instead, his voice dropped. Lower, stripped of its usual certainty. I don't have time to learn right now, he said. Ilara's gaze softened, but only slightly. That's not new, she replied. It just feels new because I'm not covering it anymore. The call ended without warning. At 12:26 p.m., her phone rang again. Her mother. Ilara answered this time. Hello? Her mother didn't waste a second. What happened? She demanded. Ilara leaned back in her chair. What do you mean? The meeting, her mother said sharply. It went terribly. They questioned everything. He couldn't answer them properly. Ilara closed her eyes briefly. There it was. Not surprising. Just confirmed. That sounds difficult, she said. Difficult? Her mother repeated. It was a disaster. Ilara said nothing. Her mother continued, faster now. They said the numbers didn't match, that the projections weren't realistic. One of them even asked who prepared the original files. Ilara's grip tightened slightly. And what did he say? She asked. A pause. Then, he said he had help before, but this time he handled it himself. Ilara let that sit because it mattered. Not for validation, but for truth. He needs you, her mother said suddenly. There it was. The return, the expectation, immediate, unquestioned. He needed preparation before the meeting. Ilara replied calmly. That's not the point right now. It is, Ilara said. Her voice didn't rise, but it didn't bend either. He's in trouble, her mother insisted. You know how to fix this. Ilara looked down at her desk, at her hands, at the space where her work stayed, and stopped crossing into someone else's life. No, she said. The word landed harder this time. Excuse me? Her mother asked. I'm not fixing it, Ilara repeated. A sharp inhale came through the line. How can you say that? Her mother demanded. He's your brother. Ilara's jaw tightened slightly. I know who he is. Then act like it. There it was. The line she had heard her entire life. Family as obligation. Support as identity. Sacrifice as proof. But now, it sounded different. Not like truth, like control. What exactly do you want me to do? Ilara asked. Her mother didn't hesitate. Come over tonight. Bring your laptop. Look through everything. Call whoever you need to call. Just fix it. Just fix it. Like always. Like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't already stepped away. Ilara let the silence stretch long enough to feel real. Then, no, her mother's voice broke. Not with sadness, with anger. Chloe! Ilara, she corrected quietly. Another pause. Then sharper. You're going to let him fail? Ilara's grip on the phone steadied. No, she said. I'm going to stop pretending I'm the reason he hasn't already. The line went dead. Ilara sat there for a long moment after the call ended. The office noise returned slowly around her. People talking, phones ringing, work continuing. Normal, stable, clear. Her world was still intact because it had never depended on someone else fixing it. Across the city, Adrian's wasn't. And for the first time, she wasn't holding it together. The shift didn't happen all at once. It never does. It came quietly at first, like a story being rewritten without her permission. 2 days after the failed meeting, Ilara's name started appearing again. Not in requests, in explanations. Her mother sent a message late that afternoon. I don't know why you're choosing to hurt your brother like this. Ilara read it once, then again. Hurt. That was the word now. Not absence, not boundaries. Hurt. She placed her phone down without replying. By evening, the tone sharpened. Another message. Longer, heavier. He hasn't been sleeping. He barely eats. This situation is serious, and instead of helping, you're making it worse. I never thought you could be this cold. Cold. Ilara leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. It was strange how quickly everything shifted. For years, she had been the one holding everything together, and no one called her warm. Now that she stepped back, she was cold. The difference wasn't her behavior. It was their access to her. Her phone buzzed again. A group message this time. Family. Names she hadn't seen in months. What's going on? Heard Adrian's having trouble. Everything okay? Ilara didn't respond. She watched the messages stack. Then, her mother replied in the same thread. We're dealing with a difficult situation. Some people are choosing not to support when it matters most. No names? But it didn't need them. The silence that followed felt heavier than accusation. At work, the next morning, everything remained the same. Clear expectations, clear results. No hidden roles, no emotional debts. Her manager stopped by her desk again. "You handled that vendor issue perfectly yesterday," she said. "Honestly, we'd be in trouble without you." Elara nodded. "Thank you." The words landed differently here. Because they were said out loud. Because they were meant. Because they weren't followed by expectation. At 1:14 p.m., Adrian called. She almost didn't answer. But something told her this one would be different. She picked up. "What?" she said. There was no immediate response. Then, "You really don't care, do you?" His voice was quieter. Not sharp. Not demanding. But not soft either. It carried something else. Resentment. Elara sat still. "I care," she said. "Then why aren't you helping?" he asked. The question sounded simpler than it was. Cleaner. As if the answer should be obvious. Elara took a breath. "Because helping you isn't helping you anymore." Silence. Then, "That doesn't even make sense." "It does," she said. "You just don't like it." His tone changed again. Frustration rising. "You know what people are saying?" he snapped. "That I messed everything up. That I didn't know what I was doing." Elara didn't respond. Because that part was true. They're questioning everything," he continued. "The numbers, the decisions, everything." Elara closed her eyes briefly. "That's what happens when reality replaces protection. And you could stop that," he added. There it was again. The belief that she could rewrite the outcome, erase the consequences, restore the illusion. Elara opened her eyes. "No," she said. The word hit harder this time. Because now, he needed it. "What do you mean, no?" he asked, his voice tightening. "I mean, I'm not responsible for what they're saying," she replied. "You're responsible for not fixing it," he shot back. There it was, clear, direct, blame. Elara felt it land, but it didn't stay. Because for the first time, she didn't accept it. "No," she said again, quieter now. "I'm responsible for my choices. And this is one of them." The silence stretched longer than before. "Then, you've changed," Adrian said. Elara almost smiled. No, she hadn't. Not really. She had just stopped adjusting. "You used to be different," he continued. Elara leaned forward slightly, her elbows resting on her knees. "I used to do everything for you," she said. "That's not the same thing." Another pause. Then, "You're enjoying this," he said suddenly. The accusation came out sharp, defensive, desperate. "You're just watching everything fall apart." Elara's expression didn't change, because she had expected that. If she wasn't saving him, she must be against him. "No," she said. "I'm watching what happens when I stop interfering." His breathing shifted. Faster, uneven. "Then, you think you're better than me now?" The question wasn't really a question. It was a shield. Elara shook her head, even though he couldn't see it. "No," she said. "I just stopped being beneath you." The line went silent. Completely. For a moment, she thought the call had dropped. Then, a quiet exhale, and the call ended. That night, Elara sat alone in her apartment. The room was quiet again, but not empty. Not like before. Because now, the noise had a shape. She could see it clearly. The expectations, the pressure, the roles. And the moment she stepped out of them, she didn't disappear. She became the problem. Her phone buzzed one last time. A message from her mother. Short, female. "I don't know who you've become." Elara looked at it for a long moment, then typed her reply. "Someone who isn't invisible anymore." She sent it. And this time, she didn't feel the need to explain anything else. Because the story had already changed. Not for them. Not yet. But for her. Completely. The noise didn't stop. It just changed shape. By the end of the week, everything Adrian had tried to hide started surfacing. Slowly, unevenly, but relentlessly. First, it was small, a message forwarded from her mother. "One of his staff quit, something about delayed pay." Elara read it, her expression still. Then another. "There's an issue with the lease. The landlord is asking questions." And then a screenshot, a post in a local business group, a warning. "Careful language, but clear enough." unpaid invoices, missed deadlines, concerns about reliability. Ilara stared at the screen. Not shocked, not even surprised, just confirmed. Her mother's message came seconds later. People are attacking him publicly. This is getting out of control. Ilara's thumb hovered over the screen. Attacking. That word again. She looked at the screenshot one more time. No insults. No exaggeration. Just facts. They're not attacking him. She typed back slowly. They're describing what happened. She didn't send it. She deleted the message instead. Because she understood something now. Truth, spoken too early, sounds like cruelty. That night, her apartment felt different. Not heavier. Clearer. Ilara sat at her kitchen table, a single lamp casting soft light across the surface. She hadn't planned this. It started with something simple, looking for a document, a tax file. But instead, she found a folder she hadn't opened in years. And inside it, her life. Receipts, transfers, old emails. Each one a quiet record of something she had done that no one had ever acknowledged. She pulled out the first page. A bank transfer. A note attached. Just until next week, I'll pay you back. She stared at the date. 2 years ago. No repayment. Another document. An invoice. Equipment storage. Marked urgent. Paid from her account. Another. Software subscriptions. Another. Legal review. Another. Payroll shortage. Each one small on its own. Together. Undeniable. Ilara leaned back slightly, her fingers resting on the edge of the table. For years, she had carried all of this in memory. Now it existed in something stronger. Proof. Not for revenge, not for validation, but for clarity. Because every time she had tried to explain before, she had been dismissed, told she was exaggerating, overthinking, making things bigger than they were. But paper didn't argue. Paper didn't minimize. Paper didn't forget. She reached deeper into the folder and found something else, a letter. Folded carefully, she recognized it immediately. Even before opening it, the offer she never took. A position in another city. Better pay. Leadership track. A chance to build something of her own. She unfolded it slowly, her eyes moving across the words. Everything she had worked for, everything she had been ready for, gone. Not because she couldn't take it, because she didn't. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. Your brother needs you close right now. So she stayed, and he called it independence. Ilara folded the letter again, more carefully this time, and placed it beside the rest of the documents, separate but connected. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about cost. Her phone buzzed. She didn't look at it. Not yet. Instead, she pulled out a clean sheet of paper and started writing. Not emotions, not accusations. Facts, numbers, dates. A list of everything she had given and everything that had never been returned. Not because she expected repayment, but because she refused to let it be erased. Minutes passed, then an hour. By the time she finished, the table in front of her was covered. Not messy. Organized. Structured. Clear. Just like her work. Just like her mind. Her phone buzzed again. This time she checked. A message from her father. Rare. Can we talk? Ilara stared at the screen for a moment, then replied, Yes. The call came seconds later. His voice was quieter than she remembered. Your mother is very upset, he said. Ilara didn't respond. He continued, Things are getting serious. Ilara looked at the papers in front of her. I know, she said. There was a pause. Then, Adrian might lose everything. Ilara closed her eyes briefly. Not out of emotion, out of understanding. If he does, she said slowly, then maybe it was never stable to begin with. Silence, longer this time. Then, you sound like you're trying to teach him a lesson. Ilara's grip tightened slightly on the pen in her hand. I am, she said. Her honesty surprised even her. But it didn't feel wrong. What lesson? Her father asked. Ilara looked down at the list, at the years, at the weight. That I was never his backup plan, she said. I was just the one who kept everything from falling apart. Her father didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was softer. I should have said something at dinner. The words landed quietly, but they stayed. Ilara swallowed. Yes, she said. You should have. After the call ended, Ilara sat there for a long time. The room quiet. The table full. Her past laid out in front of her, not as memory, but as evidence. For years, she had tried to be understood. Now, she didn't need to be. She just needed the truth to exist, clearly, unarguably, unavoidable. She gathered the papers slowly, placed them into a single envelope, closed it, and set it beside her, not as a weapon, not as protection, but as something she had never allowed herself before, proof that she had always been there. And this time, she wouldn't let anyone pretend otherwise. The message came on a Sunday. No greeting, no explanation. Just one line from her mother. "Come to the house. This has gone too far." Ilara read it once, then set her phone down. For a moment, she considered not going. She didn't owe them anything anymore. Not explanations, not solutions, not even her presence. But her eyes drifted to the envelope resting on the table. The one filled with years of silence turned into paper. And she understood this wasn't about fixing anything. This was about ending something. Clearly, completely. So she went. The house looked exactly the same. Same door, same windows, same quiet attempt at warmth. But when Ilara stepped inside, it felt smaller. Not physically, just less powerful than it used to be. They were all there. Her mother sat on the couch, eyes red, fingers twisted tightly together. Her father stood near the wall, arms crossed, silent but present. Adrian stood in the middle of the room. He looked different, not polished, not confident, just tired. "You finally decided to show up," her mother said sharply. No hello, no pause. Ilara set her bag down calmly. "You asked me to come." "We need to fix this," her mother said. Ilara shook her head slightly. "No," she replied. "You want me to fix this?" Adrian stepped forward. His voice wasn't steady. "I'm running out of time," he said. "The landlord is threatening legal action. The second location is gone. The first one barely works." Ilara listened, without interrupting, without reacting. He continued faster now. "People are talking. Clients are leaving. I can't keep up with everything." Her mother looked at Ilara, her voice breaking into urgency. He could lose everything. Ilara nodded once. "I know." The calm in her voice made the room feel sharper. Adrian hesitated, then said it. "I need money." The words landed heavy, direct. No distance left. "How much?" Ilara asked. 35,000. Her father looked away. Her mother closed her eyes. Ilara didn't move. "No," she said. The word echoed, louder than before. Adrian let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "You didn't even think about it." Ilara met his gaze. "I thought about it for years." Her mother stood abruptly. "How can you be like this?" she demanded. "He made mistakes, yes, but you've always been the responsible one." Ilara's expression didn't change. "That's not a compliment," she said. "Not anymore." Adrian ran his hands through his hair, pacing. "I'll pay you back," he said quickly. "I just need time." Ilara reached into her bag, pulled out the envelope, and placed it on the table. "You still owe me," she said. The room stilled. She opened the envelope slowly, one document at a time, placed them down. 3,800, she said. "Payroll shortage." Another. 4,200. Equipment storage. Another. 600. Software subscriptions. Another. 900. Legal review. Paper after paper, number after number, each one quiet, each one undeniable. Her mother stared at the table. "What is this?" she whispered. Ilara looked at her. "This is what you call normal support." Adrian's face shifted. From frustration to something else, something closer to realization. "I didn't know it was that much," he said quietly. Ilara nodded. "Because you never had to." Her mother's voice rose again, shaking. "This is humiliating." Ilara held her gaze. "No," she said. "Humiliating was sitting at that table while you called me ordinary." A pause. "This is just the truth." Adrian sank onto the edge of the couch. For the first time, he didn't argue, didn't defend, didn't deflect. He just sat there, looking at the evidence of a life he hadn't seen. "Please," he said finally. The word was quiet, unfamiliar. "I don't know how to fix this." The room held its breath, because for a second, everything could have gone back. Elara could have stepped forward, picked up the papers, opened her laptop, started solving, like she always did. But she didn't. Instead, she reached into her bag again and pulled out a single sheet, placed it on top of the others. "This is what I will give you," she said. Adrian looked down. A list. Clear, structured, direct. A bankruptcy attorney, a debt counselor, 2 job contacts, a repayment plan, a template for a public statement. Not rescue, not escape, a path. Her mother recoiled. "You want him to work like this?" she asked. Elara turned to her. "I want him to work." Adrian stared at the page. "And if I don't?" he asked quietly. Elara met his eyes. "Then nothing changes." A pause. "Except I won't be there to soften it." Her father stepped forward slowly, picked up the paper, read it, then nodded. "This is fair," he said. Her mother turned toward him, shocked, but he didn't take it back. Adrian's hands trembled slightly as he held the list. Not because it was impossible, because it was real. Elara picked up her bag. "One more thing," she said. They all looked at her. "Don't call me ordinary again." Her voice didn't rise, but it didn't need to. "Ordinary people don't carry families in silence." She turned, walked toward the door. No one stopped her. No one argued. Because for the first time, there was nothing left to say. Outside, the air felt different. Not lighter, not easier, just honest. Behind her, the illusion had finally broken. Not because she destroyed it, but because she stopped holding it together. And this time, she didn't look back. The collapse didn't come all at once. It came in pieces. And this time, no one was there to catch them. The first sign was quiet. A message forwarded by her mother. A photo of a locked door. Adrian's second location. Closed. No explanation. Just a printed notice taped across the glass. Elara looked at it for a long moment, then set her phone down. The second came louder. A formal notice. Legal language, deadlines, consequences. The landlord had filed, not out of anger, out of process. Because business didn't wait for denial. Then came the rest. A trainer quitting. 2 clients leaving. A vendor refusing delivery without payment. Each piece small. Together. Unavoidable. Her mother's messages slowed, then stopped. Not because things improved. Because there was nothing left to argue. Reality had taken over. Elara didn't reach out. Not out of indifference, but because she understood something now. This part mattered. The fall. Not to punish, but to reveal. A week passed. Then 2. Then 3. On a quiet Thursday evening, her phone rang. Adrian. She watched it for a second, then answered. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then, "I took the job." His voice was different. Not defeated. Not proud. Just grounded. Elara leaned back slightly. "What job?" she asked. "The warehouse," he said. "Inventory supervisor." She didn't respond immediately. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because she understood what it meant. He continued. "It's not what I planned." A small pause. "But it's something." Elara nodded, even though he couldn't see it. "That matters," she said. Silence. Then, "I used the list," he added. Her eyes shifted slightly. Of course he did. Not all of it, but enough. "I talked to the counselor," he continued. "Set up payment plans. I'm figuring it out." Elara let out a quiet breath. Not relief, not satisfaction, just recognition. This was new. "I sent the first payments," he said. "To the vendors." A pause. "And to you." Elara looked down at her hands. Still, for a moment, she didn't respond. Because this was the part she never expected to reach. Not because it was impossible. Because it required something she had never seen from him before. Accountability. "You didn't have to do that first," she said. "I did," he replied. No hesitation, no deflection. "I should have done it a long time ago." The words landed quietly, but they stayed. Another pause. Then, "I didn't understand it before," he said. "What?" "What you were doing," Adrian answered. His voice was steady. "I thought things just worked out. I thought I was handling it." Elara closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "And now?" she asked. A small exhale came through the line. "Now I see how much I wasn't." The honesty didn't fix anything. It didn't erase anything, but it changed something. I'm not asking you to help, he added quickly. I know. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. Ilara nodded slowly. That's enough, she said. Another silence, but this one felt different. Not heavy, not sharp, just real. How's work? Adrian asked suddenly. The question caught her off guard. Not because it was complicated, because it was the first time he asked without needing something. It's good, she said. I got promoted. A pause. Then, that makes sense, he said. No sarcasm, no comparison, just acknowledgement. Ilara looked out the window, the city moving quietly below. Thank you, she said. They didn't talk much longer. There wasn't a need to, because for the first time, the conversation didn't revolve around a problem she had to solve. After the call ended, Ilara sat there for a while, thinking, not about what had happened, but about what hadn't. She hadn't stepped in, hadn't corrected, hadn't carried, and still, something had changed. Not because she fixed it, because she didn't. Across the city, Adrian was rebuilding. Not quickly, not perfectly, but honestly, piece by piece, without illusion, without protection, without her. And for the first time, that didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like balance. Her phone buzzed once more. A message. Not from Adrian. From her father. He's working hard. I think he's learning. Ilara read it, then replied. I think so too. She placed her phone down. The room quiet again. But not uncertain. Not fragile. Just steady. Because the truth had finally arrived. And this time, it stayed. 6 months later, the house looked smaller. Not because it had changed, but because Ilara had. She sat in her car across the street for a moment, hands resting lightly on the steering wheel, watching the familiar windows she had once memorized. There was a time when that house held everything. Responsibility, expectation, obligation. Now, it was just a place. Her father had asked her to come. Not urgently, not emotionally, just asked. That alone felt different. When she stepped out of the car, the air carried the faint scent of rain. Cool, clean. She walked up the path slowly. This time, she didn't use her key. She knocked. Her mother opened the door. For a second, neither of them spoke. She looked older. Not weaker, just less certain. Come in, she said quietly. No command, no edge, just space. Inside, the house felt different. Boxes stacked along the walls. Shelves half empty. Frames taken down. An ending in progress. Adrian was in the dining room. He stood when he saw her. No performance. No confidence to prove. Just a man in a simple shirt. Hands slightly rougher than before. Hey, he said. Hey, Ilara replied. Her father brought coffee no one really touched. They sat at the same table where everything had started. But this time, no one rushed to fill the silence. Her mother spoke first. I owe you an apology. The words came slowly, carefully, as if she had practiced them, but still didn't trust them. Ilara didn't interrupt. Her mother continued. For dinner, and for years, a pause. I made you responsible because you were capable. And I praised Adrian because I was afraid he would fall apart without it. Her voice trembled slightly. I told myself you didn't need encouragement because you were strong. She looked down at her hands. But that wasn't strength. That was neglect. The word settled into the room. Not heavy, just honest. Ilara felt it. Not as relief. Not as resolution. Just recognition. Thank you for saying that, she replied. Her voice calm, measured, real. Adrian shifted slightly in his seat. I'm sorry too, he said. He reached into a folder and slid a paper across the table. A record. Every payment. Every amount remaining. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he added. I just wanted you to see that I'm taking it seriously. Ilara looked at the paper. The numbers weren't large, but they were consistent, intentional, different. Good, she said. A small silence followed. Not uncomfortable, just new. I didn't see it before, Adrian said quietly. What you were doing. Ilara met his eyes. He didn't look away. I thought things worked because I was making them work, he continued. A small, almost embarrassed smile. I didn't realize you were holding everything together. Ilara didn't respond immediately, because some truths don't need to be answered. They just need to be acknowledged. Her mother spoke again, softer this time. I don't want anything from you anymore, she said. No money. No fixing things. A pause. I just want to know if there's a way to rebuild. The question lingered. Open. Careful. The old version of Alara would have answered immediately. Reassured. Comforted. Stepped back in. But she didn't. She took a breath and spoke slowly. Maybe. Her mother nodded quickly. Relief flickering, but controlled. But not the way it was. Alara added. Silence again. Then her father spoke. That's fair. Alara looked at them one by one. Clear. Present. No emergency calls asking me to fix things, she said. No rewriting what happened. No treating me like I'm only valuable when I solve problems. A pause. No calling me ordinary. Her mother nodded, tears in her eyes, but this time, not defensive. Agreed. Adrian followed. Agreed. Her father simply said, Yes. Alara stood, not abruptly, not dramatically, just done. At the doorway, she paused. Her mother gestured toward a box nearby. There's a photo of you in there, she said. From your promotion. Alara glanced at it. A printed image. Her standing with her team. Confident, visible. Keep it, she said. Her mother hesitated. Are you sure? Alara nodded. But don't hang it because things change now, she said. Hang it because I was always worth seeing. Her mother's eyes filled. She didn't argue. Outside, the air felt lighter. Not because everything was fixed, but because nothing was hidden anymore. Adrian followed her onto the porch. Alara? He said. She turned. He hesitated. Then I thought success meant people believing in me, he admitted. A small pause. Now I think it means becoming someone who doesn't need to be rescued. Alara smiled. For the first time, without weight. That's a better definition, she said. She walked to her car, got in, started the engine. Her life wasn't perfect. Her family wasn't perfect. Nothing had magically reset, but something had changed permanently. She no longer carried what wasn't hers. She no longer confused love with responsibility. She no longer disappeared to keep everything else standing. As she drove away, the house grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Not lost, just no longer central. And for the first time, her life felt fully her own. Because she hadn't destroyed anything. She had simply stepped back. And when she did, everything that depended on her finally revealed itself, not as strength, but as something that had needed her all along.